Hello everyone. So in today's lesson, I want to show you how you can use table in Microsoft Word. So tables allow you to summarize and emphasize information. You can easily customize a table by using existing table styles. You can create your own table and format it based on the theme that you're working with. You can even use table templates in Microsoft Word. So let's start so I can show you how to use tables. Now, if you want to put table into your Microsoft Word, what you need to do is you hit the Insert tab. Now you would see the table group. Click the more arrow where you have the table group. So there are different ways you can add table to your document. Now the first one is from here, and you will see there it's showing me one row and it's one by one table, okay, which is one column, one row. It's just a column and it's a row. Now you can use this depending on how many rows and columns that you want for your table. You can use it here to get the columns and the row that you want. So currently I have 4 columns and 1 row. So I can use this to actually get what I want for my table. So as you see there, I have 4 columns and 5 rows. So now this is one way you can insert a table into your document. Now let's go back there. Insert tab, then you click the more arrow of that table. The other way is to insert a table to your Word document is you click on the Insert Table. You will see the Insert Table dialog box appear. Okay, so where you have table size, you would see number of columns. Now in this case, you need to type in the number of columns you want for your table. So we can use 6 columns. All right. Now remember, you can use either the up or down arrow. You can click to increase the number of columns. All right. Now for the number of rows, let's make it 5. Okay. So once you're done with that aspect, you come to this side. It says auto fit behavior. So by default, it is fixed column width by auto, which is okay, and you should allow it to be like so. And then we have other one, auto fit to content, auto fit to window, but let it be like so. You should just focus on where you have number of columns and number of rows. So I'm going to click OK. So right here you can see that we do have 6 columns, which is 1. Okay, if I want to count it like that, 3, 4, 5, and 6. All right. The other way you can insert a table to your document is by choosing the third option. So I click the Insert tab, go to the Tables group, click the more arrow, and at this point I would see Draw Table. So I'll click on that. Okay, so by drawing a table, it gives you more flexibility as to the width and the height. Okay, so it's not a fixed kind of stuff. So if I click on the draw table, you would see the icon, the pencil icon. I can then click and draw to or drag to the point that I want my table to stop. Okay, now I can now use my pencil to click and create column for my table. Click and drag it down, point it to the exact point I want it. All right, so I can create my table with the width, the size as to how I want it. Okay, right. So once you finish drawing your table, you would still see that the pencil icon is there. Just hover to the ribbon, okay, the layout tab, okay, and then uncheck the draw table icon or button. So you would now see that the pencil icon is gone. One thing you need to note is that once you create a table, additional tabs would appear by the ribbon. So by default, you will see what the tabs look like. So when I click inside any of this table, you will notice there's two additional tabs, which is design and layout would appear. So when I click outside the table, you'll see that it's gone. So these are tools, design tab and the layout tab, allow you to further format your table. Okay, right. So before I go ahead to format the first table, I would like to delete these other tables. If I want to delete this table, I would have to select, you see that box there, click on it. So the table is selected and I can right click on it and then click on delete table. Now that's one way you can delete a table. Now if I want to delete this other table, I would click on that to select all of it, okay, at once. And now remember I said when you click on a table, you will notice two tabs would appear. Now let's click on the layout tab. Okay, now from the layout tab, you will see rows and columns, and then at that point you would see delete. Click the more arrow and it shows you different types of delete, and we want to delete the table, so I'll click on delete table. Now the table is gone. Now to format this table, I would show you different things that you can do. Now it's selected or clicked. I will go to the design tab, click on it. Now with the design tab, it gives me other tools that I can use to design my table. So here I have table styles. Right, so if I click the more arrow here, I will see different styles of table that I might want to use for my table. And take note that each of the styles of table do have their names. Like this one that your mouse is on is Grid Table 1 Lite. Okay, so they all have their names. And as I hover my mouse across this table, you will see the live view. Okay, at this side you will notice the live view, okay, and their name and what it looks like. Now if you find any of those interesting, you may now want to click on it and choose it. So let's go with this Grid Table 5 Dark Accent 5 style. Okay, now this is what it looks like. All right, so at this point I have table style options. Okay, so if I put, you would notice the default, right? So if I uncheck the banded rows, you will see what happened here. So if I click on it again, you will see what that means. So on this side, if I put a tick here, banded columns, if I put a tick there, it means I want a different design for my columns. So I would uncheck it. Okay, now header row, if I uncheck, you'll see what that also means. So you can use table style option to further format or design your table as you wish. Okay, now if I want to apply shading to my table, now this is the first row. I would select that row, okay, and I want to change the color, which is shading. I can then come to this point where I have shading, click the more arrow, and then add the color that I want for that heading of that table, whichever color that I want to format it to. Okay, so I might want to leave it at that, or probably make it gray, light gray. All right, so that is what that's. Okay, so if I click anywhere outside the table, the tab goes off. So I have to click within the table to still have, okay, that was design, to still have this shading there. Okay, so I want to take off the banded rows. I want to take Okay, basically that is it. I may have to go back and just have a plain table. If you don't like the design, you can go back, click the more arrow and choose plain table. Okay, so let's remain at plain table so we can further format, get to know other things. Let's look at this section where we have borders. Okay, so if I click the more arrow of the border style, you will see the different style that are here, which you can use and apply to specific section of your table. And note that before you apply a border, you need to select either the column as to where you want to apply it, the cell or the row. But let me click on that, the entire table. Okay, so from here, these are different border styles that you can find. I won't be applying that. And we do have color. Okay, that is your pen color. And at the border section, I click the more arrow, and as I hover my mouse across this types of borders, you will see the live view as it displays in the screen there. All right, so I have a top border, I have left border. You can see it depends on what. Now it says no border. Okay, so if I were to have um, maybe text written within this borders or numbers, and then I say no border, then it means I would have invisible border within the table. Then all borders, I have that outside border. Okay, you can see the difference, and then it goes on and on like that. Okay, all right, so let's go to where we have. Okay, I would unselect that and click on the layout tab. Remember, it's only when you click within the table that you have these tabs. It's called table tools, and there are two tabs within it. Okay, so let's click on the layout tab. All right, in the layout section, okay, so if I go to the rows and columns, there are different things you can do here. You can delete the table. If I click the more arrow here, and I can delete a cell. I can delete columns. Okay, I can delete rows depending the row I want to delete. I then can delete a table, and here I can insert rows above or below where I want. Let me populate that particular table with text. Okay, if I populate that with text and then still have the same thing populated at this point. As you can see, I have just populated this table. So if I want to add an empty um, row above the area that I have just selected, what I then need to do is to select that particular row, and then if I want to add empty row above it, then I go to the layout tab, rows and column, and you will see insert above. Now that is your row, insert above. So if I click on it, you will find that I have now an empty row above that section that I selected. Now if I click again, how you can insert row. So if I click the row that I want an empty row inserted below it just by clicking in that row, I can then go to my layout tab, rows and column, insert below, and then I have that inserted. So you can note that it's either you select the row that you want to insert, either you make the selection and then insert above or below, or you just click, identify the section where you want to either insert a row above or below, which is important. Okay, all right, so to delete any row, so let's delete the empty rows that we have. So you can select the entire row, right click, and then go to where you have delete. cells, click on it, and then the delete cells dialog box would appear asking you what exactly you want to do. So you should now select what you want. So I say delete entire row. If I want a column, I would go for it, but I want to delete a row. So I'll choose that and click OK. Another way you can delete a row or column is you select or just click that particular row, right? Go to the button there, which is delete, click the more arrow and delete row. If you want to delete rows, delete column. If you want to delete column, if I were to delete this first column, I can go for that. But I want to delete row, so my empty rows are gone. Okay, so I can just select a column to delete it. You see what, once you see that tick down arrow, you click on it to select the column or maybe row that you want, right? So I can decide to delete that, then I go to delete button and choose the delete column. You would now notice that it's gone. Okay, so I can insert column left or right section. So I'll just click anywhere within the table and say insert right, which is for column. You would see my column comes out. So if I still click anywhere and I want to insert column by left, I will choose insert a column by left. Okay, but you see what happened is at this point you would click the exact place you want column to come in. Now I clicked here, and then when I inserted, it goes just after the column and inserts an empty column. Now if I want a column to come, an empty column here before my number one column, I would click there and say insert left. Now I have an empty column there. You use your cursor to direct Word app as to where you want to insert the column. If I want to insert two rows, I can select the two rows within the table, right click and say insert, and then I choose either insert below or above. Okay, and then I want it below, and then I have two rows right below. I can select two. By me selecting this two means I want two columns to be inserted. Then I right click, go to left. Okay, so when you choose left, you will have empty rows inserted by left. If you choose right, you will have empty rows inserted by the right section. So these are different ways you can manipulate working with your table. Okay, now let's go to this other section where we have the merge group. So you can do several things within this section. To be able to merge any cell within your table, you must have to select the cells that you want to merge. So if I want to merge this section, I would select those three cells. Now go to the merge group and go to merge cells. Now those cells now becomes one. So I'm sure you would have seen several tables that are nicely modified or formatted. This is simply done by using the merge button. Now I can also decide to, merge all of those cells there. I just select all of it, go to the merge group and click merge cells, and then it's all done. Now you need to note that you cannot merge any cell if they are not selected. Now if I click anywhere, you see the merge cells are deselected until you select them before you can merge them. Now the other button is split cells. You can split your cell. So first you identify the section or the area you want to split, just like the cursor is there. Now let's click on split cells. The split cells dialog box appears. Now it would ask number of columns you want to split. Let's leave it at 2. Okay, and then number of rows. Let's just increase this a little bit to 2 and click OK. Within the section where I had merged the cells, it is where I had the split done. Okay, so remember it was about 3 columns around here, so I can split this to 3 so it comes back to exactly what I had initially. Now let's say I want to this section, so you can easily understand what I have just done. Let's say I want to just split this whole cell. Remember, this is just one. I want to have it as it is, so I will have 1 2 3 columns and then 1 2 3 4 rows. So let's go back to that section and say split, and then make this 3 and make this 4, right, and click OK. All right, so now I have that section that I initially had merged. I have it back now. So when you merge your cells, this is how you can get it back, by using the split cells. Okay, now let's go to the split table as to what you can do. So if I click at this place and I want to split the table, it's going to split the first 3 rows. So if I click split, and I'm sure you can see how that is done. All right, so let's go back and undo. Let's undo that, and maybe perhaps delete what we have there. So right click, and then I want to delete all the columns. Select that section and delete. It's a row, right? So I'll delete the entire row. Now let's look at this place where we have size, cell size. Okay, now from the cell size group, you can actually increase the height and width of your table. So if I select, let's call this the first row, and probably we want to make that as the heading for this particular document, for this particular table. So I can go to the height of that row to increase it. Okay, you can see what's going on there. All right, and from this section I can increase the width. If I want to increase the width of a column or cell, I can select that section and then increase it. All right, another way you can do that is simply hover your mouse until it changes to, you see, once it changes, you click and drag through to expand it. That's one way you can do that. Okay, the same way you want to increase the height of your cells, you can click hold. Once it changes to that double-edged arrow, click hold and then drag to your desired position. Now the good thing to use the cell size buttons, either height or width, maybe you're working specifically based on size, then you should click or select the cells that you want to increase the size, and let's say it's a 2 cm, then you're sure it is 2 cm for all the cells there. So that's why it is good to know the exact cm that you have for your cell. Go to the Insert tab, click the more arrow, and you will see the other option, which is Quick Tables. Okay, now the quick tables show you templates or built-in table format within Microsoft Word. Now you can scroll through. Now the essence for this is that you can choose any of these templates and use it to format or design yours. Okay, let's work with this particular table. This is a template, so with this you can format the table as to how you want it. Now the first thing you might want to do, okay, with this table, I like to show you that you can move columns across. You can move columns and position it the exact place you want it to be. Now if I click the third column, I want to move it so that it becomes the second column on this table. So it's selected, which is the third column, I would right click and choose the cut. It's gone. Now I'll position my mouse where I want to paste it, and right click, then choose the paste. Okay, now I have moved that particular column. It becomes the second um, column in this particular table. Now whatever I have here, you would see the dates there is 2005. I can format it to say 2023. It says enrollment in local colleges. I can call this enrollment in universities. Enrollment in universities. So I'm sure you can now see that this is a template, but you are now changing it so it looks like exactly what you want it to look like. Okay, so I can format and add the top universities that we have within Western Cape. Okay, so I can then write delete whatever I have there. Okay, because we don't have those universities, and remember I'm formatting to make it look like my one, so I'll paste those universities. Okay, all right, I can change the numbers that are there in terms of graduating students, new students. Okay, so I have some numbers that I have, so I can delete what is here and put in my own numbers. Okay, and I have this row. Okay, I don't have any university there, so I can select that particular row, right click and delete it. It's a row, so I'll choose delete entire row and click OK. Right. Okay, so the same thing here we have on the graduate student. The change, I will just let that change be so. Okay, now on the graduate section, we don't have the schools here, so I'll just take the same universities that I have there. All right, copy it. Now delete this one and paste it there, and delete this Oak University because I have just 4 universities I want to work with. Right click, go to delete entire row and click OK. We already know how to delete rows and column. Okay, so I can decide to delete the information I have here and put in my one. Okay, and then ensure that the total of this is what I have here. Calculate and ensure that the total is what I have here, and also ensure that the total is what I have here. Okay, so I want to apply border to the undergraduate and graduate section, so I'll select that, go to the design, and I would see that when I hover my mouse, I want to see what I get there. So I have all that. Okay, so at this point I do have all borders, and that's what I want, so I'll click my all borders. Okay, and then remember you use a template, and then I'm trying to format it to look like I would like it to be. Then I select the graduate section. Okay, up to that point, and of course also apply that. Now I want to select the entire table, go back to design tab, the tab group, click on the borders, and I want to add outside border. Do notice here that I have this test where I have undergraduate. If I click on that undergraduate, it's in the column of the is in the third column, so I would apply, and it, you see, is in column but it's transparent, so I would apply the merge cells. So I go to the layout, and here I have merge cells. The merge group, I have merge cells, so I'll click on merge cells, go to the home tab and center it. So I have that centered. The same thing, I'll merge the cells here for the graduate. Okay, go to the layout section, go to merge, which is merge group, merge cells, click that and center it. Now go back to the layout tab. Right, now look at the alignment group. You can as well align the text within your table instead of going through the home tab to align it. Now if I select everything I have within this table, I can come to through the alignment section, and then it tells me what I can do. Align top left or align center. So I can align all the text center instead of going through the home tab to click on the center button. So, but I don't want all of that to be within the center. But this alignment allows you to align the text within your table. Now let's look at the text direction. So we have the heading here. So I'm going to select the first row or the heading for that table. Where you have text direction, you can change the direction of your text within the cells. So I'll click until I see if it is vertically or horizontally aligned, depending on how I want it to be. Okay, so I want it to be like that. So this is what it looks like, but you can see that the graduating student is not properly formatted. So I need to extend the width of that first column. I need to extend the width of the first column. It's either I click and drag it further down so that is the text is for so that the text is properly formatted within the cell. And I like to add shading, apply shading to the first row. So I will select the first row, go to the design tab, and that is my table styles. Where I have the shading, I like to apply the orange to that. Okay, so I love the orange color, so let's apply the orange color to it. You can see now that my text or the table is now further formatted as to how I want it to look like. You may want to change the font color. That's okay. That's something you want to do. You can change font color how you want it. Most important thing is you can build your table from the quick tables that you have within Microsoft Word. Okay, that brings us to the end of this particular lesson. So I believe with this you can be able to insert a table and build your table from scratch and format it as to how you want it. Those videos that appear here will show you how to use referencing in Microsoft Word. The first one is using footnote and endnote in Microsoft Word, and the second one is using Mendeley Reference Manager. Thank you for watching, and if you haven't subscribed, please hit the sub button, click the like.